Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we are going to be tackling something I think we've all thought about a lot, that's turning failure into success. You know those moments when things don't quite go your way and it makes you want to just give up? We're going to kind of unpack all of that and look at it from a new perspective. We've got some really interesting insights from a motivational speech. We're going to look at resilience and some pretty amazing comeback stories.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into this.
Yeah, I think by the end of this, you might even start seeing failure not as like the end of the road,
Right.
but as a tool to get you where you want to go.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not a full stop, it's a secret weapon.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, something that I think is really interesting is this idea that we're all so afraid of failing
Oh, yeah.
that we almost like sabotage ourselves sometimes.
Absolutely. And the speech actually talks about this. It's not really a personal flaw. It's more like we are conditioned by society to be afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah, like every decision has to be perfect or else it's like the end of the world.
Right. And it makes you second guess yourself. It can stop you from trying new things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that pressure to be perfect?
Oh, all the time. I think most people do. It's like you said, it's ingrained in us.
Yeah, for sure. So in the speech, they bring up this great example of Thomas Edison
Oh, yeah.
and his invention of the light bulb. And it's funny because I feel like everyone knows this quote, but very few people actually like live by it.
Right.
He said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps."
I love that quote.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
It is.
Because it really reframes the idea of failure.
It does. And what's so fascinating about Edison is that he didn't just reframe failure, he completely redefined it. For him, every setback wasn't a defeat, it was like a data point.
Oh, wow.
Like he was collecting information. Yeah. So he would analyze each attempt, learn from it, and then refine his approach.
That's so interesting. It's like he was running a giant experiment.
He was. And there are stories about how he would meticulously document every single experiment.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He filled notebooks and notebooks with observations.
Right.
It wasn't about just being optimistic. It was about learning from every single step.
Wow. That's a very different approach than I think a lot of us take. We're so quick to get discouraged.
Right. Because we see it as a reflection of ourselves.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm not good enough.
Exactly. But what if we looked at it like Edison did? What if we took that step back and said, okay, what can I learn from this? How can this make me better?
It's like instead of beating yourself up, you're using that energy to propel yourself forward.
Exactly. You're turning a negative into a positive.
Yeah. And I think that's a really key takeaway from this speech. It's all about shifting your perspective.
Absolutely.
Instead of looking at these roadblocks as the end, you're seeing them as detours on the way to success.
Right. And that's the theme that comes up a lot in the speech, this idea of reframing failure.
It makes me think about Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah, a classic example.
Right. Arguably one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But you know what? He was cut from his high school basketball team.
It's hard to believe.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. And it goes to show that we tend to just focus on the highlight reel.
Yeah. We forget about all the work that goes on behind the scenes.
All the struggles, the setbacks.
Yeah. So I think his story is so inspiring
Oh, absolutely.
because it shows us that rejection and those disappointments, they don't have to be the end.
Right.
They can actually be what pushes you to be even better.
Exactly. And that's what the speech is all about. It's not just about achieving success. It's about developing that character to overcome challenges.
It's about the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why the speaker recommends keeping a journal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, to document your setbacks and the lessons you've learned.
That's a really good idea.
Because then you can go back and you can see how much you've grown.
Right. It's like a roadmap of your own growth.
Yeah. And it highlights not just the successes, but also the struggles that got you there.
So it's not just about documenting what happened. It's about actively reframing that narrative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Instead of I failed, it becomes I learned.
I love that. So it's not just positive thinking. It's about actually changing the way you process those experiences.
Precisely. And the speaker has some really concrete methods for doing just that.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, one technique they recommend is what they call the failure audit.
A failure audit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it involves dissecting a setback to really understand its root causes. So you ask yourself questions like, what specific actions led to this outcome?
Okay.
And what assumptions did I make that might have been flawed?
So like turning failure into a science experiment.
That's a great way to put it. It's about moving beyond self-blame and into a space of constructive analysis.
It's so interesting because I feel like a lot of us, when we fail, we just get stuck in that negative emotion.
Right, absolutely. We dwell on it.
And so this is like a way to channel that energy into something productive.
Exactly.
I love that. And it makes me think of another story from the speech about this entrepreneur
Oh, yes.
who actually celebrates their failures.
They would host events with their team to analyze what went wrong. I know it sounds crazy, right?
That's amazing.
But they wanted to create this culture of learning where setbacks were seen as opportunities.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's like turning failure on its head.
It is. It's about embracing the learning process.
And the speaker argues that this shift in perspective can be a game changer. It can lead to greater resilience, creativity, and ultimately success.
Because you're no longer afraid to make those mistakes.
Exactly.
So what we're really learning here is that success isn't just about reaching the finish line. It's about navigating all those detours and learning from each one.
You got it.
And the speaker has this really powerful quote to sum it all up.
Oh, I love this one.
They say, the greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it.
It gives me chills every time I hear it.
It really challenges you to dream big.
It does.
Even if it means you're going to stumble a long way.
Because staying in your comfort zone might feel safe,
Right.
but it also limits your growth.
It's those stumbles, those failures that can actually launch you to something incredible.
Absolutely. It's in those moments of adversity that we discover our true strength.
Like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right. And the speaker really emphasizes that this resilience, this strength, it's not something you're born with. It's something you cultivate through experience, through your failures.
So each setback, if you look at it the right way, can be a stepping stone.
To greater wisdom, adaptability, and ultimately success.
Wow. I love that. So we're really talking about a complete mindset shift.
We are.
It's not just about achieving success. It's about how you view the entire journey.
And that's what makes this speech so powerful.
Well, I'm really excited to keep digging into this.
Me too. There's so much more to unpack.
And I think our listeners are going to get a lot out of it.
I agree. I think it's going to be really eye-opening.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick break.
It's like you're building a muscle. The muscle of resilience.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. The more you challenge yourself, the stronger you become.
So it's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning how to deal with it.
You got it. And the motivational speaker actually gives us a framework for doing just that.
Okay, tell me more.
They call it the 3 R's of failure. Recognize, reflect, rebound.
Okay. I like it. Lay it on me.
All right, so the first R, recognize, that's about acknowledging the setback without getting all emotional about it.
So not beating yourself up.
Right, just looking at the situation objectively. What happened? What were the factors that contributed to it?
Got it. So taking the emotion out of the equation.
Yeah, exactly. Then the next R, reflect. This is where the real learning happens.
This is where you break it all down.
Exactly. You ask those tough questions.
Yeah.
What went wrong? What could I have done differently? Were there any assumptions I made that weren't quite right?
This is where that journal comes in handy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Write it all down.
Yeah.
Analyze it. And then the final R, rebound.
Okay.
This is where you take action based on what you learned from reflecting.
So you're not just thinking about it. You're actually taking steps to move forward.
Precisely. It might mean adjusting your approach, trying a new strategy, or even seeking out some help and guidance.
So this rebounding isn't a one-time thing.
Nope, it's an ongoing process. It's all about developing that resilience muscle so you can bounce back stronger.
Stronger and wiser.
Exactly. And the motivational speaker emphasizes that failing and quitting are not the same thing.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, failure is an event. It's just a moment in time.
Okay.
But quitting, that's a decision.
I never thought about it that way.
It's about making the choice to give up on your goals.
So failure is something that happens to you, but quitting is something you choose.
Exactly. And failure can be tough. I mean, it can be discouraging.
Yeah, for sure.
But it doesn't have to define you. It's what you choose to do after that matters.
So the key is to get back up and keep moving forward.
Precisely. Keep going even when you want to give up.
That perseverance.
Yeah. And the speaker actually says that quitting is the only real failure.
Wow, that's powerful.
Right, because it means you've given up on yourself.
Yeah, you've given up on your potential.
And the speech highlights this by sharing stories of people who faced so many challenges and setbacks.
But they didn't quit.
Exactly. They kept going and achieved incredible things.
Like Thomas Edison.
Yes. His story is the perfect example of perseverance.
I mean, can you imagine trying to invent the light bulb?
And failing thousands of times.
It's mind-boggling.
But he never gave up on his vision.
And that's what the speaker calls true grit.
It is. And it's interesting because we often think of Edison as this brilliant inventor.
Right, like a genius.
But the speech points out that his success wasn't just about talent.
It was about his mindset.
Exactly, that unwavering belief that he would find a solution.
He was quoted as saying, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up."
Wow, that's so true.
It's a great reminder to keep going, even when things get tough.
Because you never know how close you are to that breakthrough.
It's like he saw failure as just part of the process.
He did. He even said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
It's like he turned those failures into data points.
Exactly. Stepping stones toward his goal.
That's a really powerful way to look at it.
And it's something we can all apply to our own lives.
So it's not about being afraid to fail.
It's about using those failures as opportunities to learn and grow.
I love that. And it reminds me of that saying, every master was once a disaster.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's so true. Even the most successful people started somewhere.
And their journey was probably full of mistakes and failures.
They just didn't give up.
Exactly. And the speaker makes a really interesting point about how those mistakes actually shape us.
Got me more.
Well, they refine our skills, strengthen our resolve, and make us more resilient.
It's like another saying, smooth seas do not make skillful sailors.
Perfect analogy. We need those challenges to grow.
So it's not about avoiding the storms.
It's about learning how to sail through them.
I love that. And I think that's such an important message for everyone.
It is, because we all face storms in our lives.
The key is to have that mindset that allows you to weather them.
Exactly. And to develop the habits that help you bounce back stronger.
So it's not about being superhuman.
It's about having the right tools and the right support.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful.
It has. And I'm so glad we got to dive into this topic.
Me too. There's so much to learn from this motivational speech.
Absolutely. And I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to embrace their own failures.
See them as opportunities for growth.
And to keep moving forward no matter what. It's not just about our work lives either. You know, the speaker really emphasizes self-compassion, especially when things get rough. It's easy to beat ourselves up over failures.
Oh yeah, we're usually our own worst critics.
Right. But the speaker wants us to be kinder to ourselves, like we would be to a friend going through the same thing.
It's true. We often forget to give ourselves that same grace.
Yeah, we hold ourselves to these impossible standards.
And that inner critic can be brutal.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're already feeling down. The speaker actually recommends challenging those negative thoughts head on.
Okay, how do you do that?
Well, you can ask yourself, is this thought even helpful? Is it really true? Is there another way to look at this?
So it's about reframing not just the situation, but your own thoughts about it.
Exactly. And that takes practice, like any skill.
Right, it's not going to happen overnight.
But the more you do it, the more space you create for self-compassion.
I like that. And speaking of support, the speaker also talks about surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yes. Having those people who believe in you can make all the difference.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders in your corner.
Exactly. They can help you get back up when you stumble, remind you of your strengths.
So seeking support isn't a weakness.
Absolutely not. It's actually a sign of strength.
Because it shows you're committed to growth.
And that you're not afraid to ask for help.
And the speaker also highlights learning from others.
Oh, yes. Studying the stories of successful people.
Not just for inspiration, but to see how they dealt with their own failures.
Exactly. You can pick up patterns and strategies to apply to your own life.
It's like finding role models who have been there and done that.
Yeah. And the speaker suggests making what they call a failure file.
Okay, a failure file. What's that?
It's a collection of stories about people who overcame huge obstacles.
I like that.
And you can revisit those stories whenever you need a reminder that setbacks are normal.
Yeah. It's like you're building a library of resilience.
Exactly. Showing you that if they can do it, so can you.
We don't have to face these challenges alone.
We don't. There are so many resources available to us.
Books, podcasts, mentors, support groups.
You name it. The key is to be proactive and seek them out.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into turning failure into success, what's the one big takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
I think this failure is not the end of the story. It's just one chapter. And it's a chapter that can teach us incredible lessons.
Lessons that can help us grow and become more resilient.
And ultimately lead us to a more successful and fulfilling life.
Beautifully said. So it's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning to navigate it effectively
Exactly.
and using it as fuel to propel us forward.
I love that analogy. Turning those setbacks into rocket fuel.
Well, this has been an incredible conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
It's been my pleasure. And thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you found it as inspiring and insightful as we did.
Remember, failure is not a full stop.
It's a comma, a chance to pause, reflect, and then write an even more amazing next chapter.
Keep those failures close.
Use them as stepping stones on your path to success.
And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing forward.
We'll see you all on our next deep dive.